I think
Yep.
having a unique voice is the number one thing everyone has to do. And there's very few people that do it. Well, there are a lot of people that do it really well. And I think the one thing that you know when you do have a voice, if someone's scrolling and they know your work without having to look at the image, I think you've done your job.
Yes. Yeah. And you can't do that if you don't have a voice, if you don't
Right.
have that one thing that calls to you that you continue to do.
Mhm.
And, if you're trying to chase trends and be like everyone else, then yeah, your
Uh,
work is going to look like everyone else.
yeah.
And,
You'll burn
and
out.
then,
You'll burn out. You'll
yeah,
be like you cannot, and you'll
yep.
eventually. It'll take you longer getting to where you need to be because you're trying to be everyone else instead of who you are.
Welcome to the podcast. I am very excited for this episode. Like I just said before we started officially recording, this is the first podcast we're recording this year. And I could be wrong about that. I'm sorry if I am not remembering other podcasts that we recorded, but I'm pretty sure this is the first one. But yeah, I've got Jennifer Lawrence here with me. I am very excited to chat. We got to meet at Hybrid a few years ago, I feel like. But yeah, welcome to the show, Jen.
Thanks for having me. It's exciting and nerve
Yeah,
wracking. If I make a lot of weird
same.
faces, just ignore me. I'm just like, I just don't know what to do with my hands or my face or my mouth right now. If I'm
None
not
of us
talking.
do. None of us know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm always like, my hands are out of frame because I'm constantly just like moving them. Oh no, I
Yes.
don't have it today. I usually have like this little fidget spinner deal to give me
Oh,
something to do.
smart.
Um, I bet my son stole that out of my office. Okay, well that's fine. But yeah, no, we'll make all the funny faces and and hand gestures today. But yeah, welcome to the show. I'm excited to talk about just everything, creativity and photography and film photography. And I love, like, your work is just so colorful and just bright and fun and joyful. So I'm excited to just chat about all of that.
Awesome. I'd love to talk about all that.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Before we do,
Okay.
there's something that I've been doing recently where I have been asking my guests a couple questions, just some random questions, nothing photography related, but I have a few. So I'm just going to have you pick two numbers between 1 and 17 real quick.
Oh gosh. Say number 10 and number 13.
Okay. Number 10, exercise. Is it worth it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I would agree. Is it easy to do? No,
It,
not for me. It's not easy for me to like get into like the routine and everything.
the routine is hard. I
Yeah.
do love yoga and I do love to exercise. It's just like trying to find that, making myself allow myself even to have the time, because it's like, oh, I
Yeah.
could do 15 other things, and it's like, no, this has to come first. So I do enjoy it. It's just the discipline and making myself do it.
hmm Yeah, and I feel like as a business owner, there's always something for us to do. There's
Yeah.
always some sort of
Mhm.
marketing, or like, oh, I can work on this blog, or I can do this thing that I've been putting off for so long, or
Yeah.
finally edit these photos from a personal project that I did a year ago,
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff. That there's an endless list, and yeah, you definitely have to put yourself and your health in the forefront, or it's never going to happen, at least for me. But okay, so that was 10. What was the other number?
13.
13. Okay, 13. What was the last song that you've listened to on repeat?
Okay. Oh gosh, that's a difficult one. I don't think I really do that. I'll listen to like specific albums on repeat. Um, like I know I'm totally aging myself by saying this, but like Counting Crows, August and Everything After. I love
Mm,
like Anna Begins. I also love Taylor Swift. I also love, classical music. I've been listening to a lot of classical music lately. Um, and then like Fleetwood Mac and that kind of stuff. So
oh
I,
yeah,
I bounce around everywhere. So it all depends on the day or the mood, you know?
yeah, oh yeah, Yeah, no, I'm with you there where it's like I feel like for us we didn't have like iTunes and stuff. We had actual albums and you would go and buy an album. You'd go buy a CD or cassette or whatever and you'd listen to that whole thing. And
Yes.
it's just now we're much more in an era of singles and
Mhm.
like people just releasing a one hit and it's just like,
Yes.
oh, I love this one song from this person.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yes.
which I do feel like we're like moving a little bit out of that now with like Taylor Swift and
Yes.
Olivia Rodrigo, where it's just like full albums.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm with you there, where I will have seasons where I'm just like really into listening to the Civil Wars or like listening to Death Cab for Cutie or something, and just like
Mhm.
going through the discography
Yeah.
and not really like one song on repeat over and over again.
No, no. And
Yeah.
it's weather related and nighttime versus daytime. It's just so many elements to it.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah. Because you're in Chicago, correct?
yes.
Yes.
You
Okay.
wouldn't know by my work, but yes, I am.
I totally assumed that you were in Hawaii from your work. and then and then I looked you up online and I was like, oh wait, Chicago. Okay.
No.
Yeah, very different. But yeah, because I like think of Chicago as like windy and cold, which I mean, it's most of the times that I've been there, except for one time that was during the summer. I mean, that was still very
Oh.
windy, but
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, I could definitely see the the seasons and weather and everything affecting what you're
Oh,
listening
oh,
to.
totally. Especially when you don't have sun for, 2 weeks straight. It's kind of like, okay, this is enough. Or,
Yeah,
you can't leave the house because it's, -20. Or you can, but
yeah,
it's going to be very
yeah,
cold.
yeah. It takes a lot more to get out of the house when it's -20.
It really does. Every winter, I'm like, why am I not living back in California or Hawaii or even, anywhere else?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep, I think the same thing every summer here in Texas. I'm like, why
yes.
are we here in 110 degrees and 110% humidity? This is
Oh my gosh.
oh, it's not great. But yeah, okay, well, cool. Those were fun. I feel like I know you a little bit more now, Jen. Can you give us a little background about like what you photograph, what you do, all of that kind of stuff?
I'm 100% film photographer. I photograph everything. I'm just getting back into weddings again, but mostly I love families, seniors, I love everything. I love any, if someone's coming to me and they say they want bright colors or happy photos, and they
Mm-hmm.
love film, I'm like, we're done, sold. Like, we're a match. If you're saying like, oh, I want everyone posed, and which is beautiful. Like it's fine. That's totally a different aesthetic, but I'm going to pass you along to someone else. So I love the like real emotions, real laugh. Like if you could feel like the love coming from photos and like the warmth and like the happiness is what makes my heart happy.
Yeah. I'm glad that you mentioned that of like you pass people along and not just like, yeah, you want to work with me? Let's work together and I can, do whatever you want because it's not like just, going to, well, I was going to say going to a restaurant, but even that, like that is so different. You can go to a Mexican food restaurant and if you're like, I really want some I was going to say
Oh yeah.
chicken tenders or something, but like they usually have those on the menu under the like little American uh, tab, but like it is similar in that way of just like every photographer is different
Mhm.
and having a good network of other photographers where you're like, okay, from talking to you, I already know I don't think we're going to be a good fit because you're wanting something that I don't typically do.
Mhm.
And like I excel at this, but I know someone else who excels at what you're looking at. So
Yeah.
it's a hard thing, especially for I feel like newer photographers or anyone trying to fill the calendar with
Mhm.
photo shoots and like fill the bank account with photo
Mhm.
shoots is it's a hard thing to pass on clients and on money, but it is really doing yourself and them a disservice if you're not
Oh,
the best fit for them.
100%. well, it just leads to burnout and just all around. If you're not happy doing what you love and like doing what you're good at or what speaks to you, it's just you'll be miserable, and it doesn't
Yeah.
matter how full your calendar is or your bank account when you're like, oh, I have to go over this shoot now. Like that's no one wants that, and they don't want. That's not fair to them either. Like
Yeah.
they want the best of you, and if I can't give myself 100% and say like I'm gung ho on this, this is going to be absolutely amazing, then I much rather not push it off, but refer off to someone who does feel that way.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's something that I had to learn, like with newborn photography. I took on way too many clients that were just like, I want that like perfectly posed with like the fists under and
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, no, sure, I can do that. Not a problem. And it was exactly what you were saying, where I would see that coming up on the calendar and like, oh, on Thursday I have this newborn shoot, or I have this
Yeah.
family session. They said that they want to, all be in matching denim and white shirts and like arm in arm around each other, smiling at the photo. And like, this is just not for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely leads to burnout. But whenever you have those clients that just ignite your soul and you're just like, yes. Like I had a family recently that they were like, what we want to do is something maybe different, like kind of start off like the open field running around in like the pretty dresses and everything, but then end in a mud fight where we just destroy everything and we're just like rolling around in the mud as a family. I'm like, 100%, you are my kind of family. This is going to be
Yep.
fun.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Ended up being too cold because it was like a cold snap here in
Um,
Texas. So
yeah.
we'll push the
So
mud to the summer.
like at like 60 is your cold snap, or no, I'm kidding.
No, I mean, it's pretty serious. Just like California where it's like, okay, it's below 60.
Yeah.
Everyone bundle up. We're staying inside. Yeah,
Yep.
we had like a little dusting of snow a couple days ago and they shut the city down. They were like, nope, we can't drive. It's not even ice. It was just like a little bit of frost, but
Mhm.
we don't know how to drive in that. Yeah.
It's just like, okay, sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But yeah, okay. So
Mhm.
I'm also very interested in being 100% film.
Mhm.
Have you always been 100% film, or is that something that you kind of transitioned into?
I absolutely transitioned to it. I was digital and I was never really 100% happy. And then I went to a workshop in Marfa and a girl let me try her film camera. And granted, like she did all the settings, everything was done for me, but I got the images back and I was like, oh, I love this. And so I bought a camera and it was just a Pentax 645N, not fancy. Still love it. It's my tank. Like I have 3 of them now. Like I will never change because I've literally dropped it and it kept shooting. Um, oh, it's a funny story, but that's for another time. But then I like taught myself film. I taught like I was a friend of mine lives in San Diego and I was like on texting him. I'm like, how does this work? What is this like? What's going on? And he's like, so I probably took myself about a year and a half to actually teach myself film to the point where I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And during that process, I was trying everything, every single film stock. And then I came across Ektar and I shot it at the beach. And then it was like history. I was like, okay, this is what I've been looking for. This is
This is the
exactly
one.
what I love. This is the color. This is it. And then I started like, okay. And so everything from the beach was perfect. I was like, this is it. I know what I'm doing. This is amazing. And then I shot it indoors and it was awful. It was a muddy mess. It was like, okay. So then I was like, okay, so I don't know what I'm doing, which I think is the best way to learn is mistakes. I think mistakes are a blessing. Like I love them. I'm I think they're the best thing ever. And
Oh
so
yeah.
that's by mistakes is how I taught myself how to learn everything. And it was the best thing ever. And so also I'm an art teacher background. So I went to art school. So like I'm used to putting our stuff up on the wall and having everyone critique it. And so
Yeah.
I like failure. I like when people say, hey, Jen, like that's like, let's look at things differently. So I think I like the challenge of photography and like the film aspect of it. So I think I went on a tangent. Did I
Yeah,
answer your question?
that's great. No, tangents are great here. We're wisdom in the tangents. So I love tangents. I love that that it wasn't just like, oh, he shot film, just kept shooting film, but like it's kind of similar. I'm in that probably like year and a half that you were,
Mhm.
but mine's been like 3 years because I've
See,
just like I
it's
just have like little 35 millimeter
wow.
cameras that I
Mhm.
find at garage sales and stuff that
Mhm.
I'm just like, I'll get this and see if it works because I don't even
Yeah.
know if this works for $15.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
yeah, and then just kind of slowly growing the arsenal of film cameras and learning different film stocks and all of that. Uh, but yeah, that was something interesting for me too, of learning like this is great indoor film stock. This is like good with
Mhm.
flash. This is great sunny
Mhm.
day
Yep.
sunset type, and how it's all different. And having that knowledge, it really has changed the way that I shoot film. Um,
100%.
but yeah, and I'm growing in the critiques
Mhm.
because I'm a firstborn. I grew up very like perfectionist. I wanted to do everything correctly. I wanted to obey all authority, and just like if anything was wrong or if anyone was like, oh well, the framing on this one's just a little off, I'd just be like, oh my heart, and just like I'm a terrible photographer, and like it was so hard to hear any sort of criticism. And then I don't know what flipped, and maybe just years of experience and like heeding some criticism
Mhm.
and then changing things and being like, oh no, that was actually really constructive. This was actually really good to hear this so
Mhm.
that I can better who I am and better my craft.
Yes.
So I love that that's, with the art teaching
Mhm.
uh, history.
Mhm.
That's something that is like kind of uh, ingrained
It
in
is.
your work, to where it's not seeing them as failures um, or even mistakes really, but just like this is a lesson that I can. What
Mhm.
can I learn from this
Oh,
to do
100%.
better? Yeah.
There's very, even scrolling on my Instagram, I could maybe count out maybe 5 images that I love, like that unconditionally. Like every time I get a session back, I actually have to wait a couple days. I look at them initially, and then it's like, okay, I have to like take a step back because I just see what I could have done differently by moving over a foot or getting down or getting higher. Oh, I wish I captured this moment instead. Or I'm very hypercritical of everything. So I
Mm-hmm.
guess there's a little bit of the perfectionist in me. And I think that makes me a better, I hope that makes me a better photographer because I want it to be better all the time. And even when I'm mentoring people, I tell people like, if you want the honest truth and that's going to help you, because I do believe not hard, kind criticism coming from a good place of helpful place is beneficial to everyone. And
Yeah.
if you don't want to hear that, I'm not going to blow rainbows up your butt and say your work is great when it's not, or it is, but like, okay, this is the steps you can do that make it even more amazing. um and if there's some people that can't handle that, and it's like, that's fine, I'm not the right person for you. If you want to
Right.
grow, let's kick it. We're gonna make you, like, we're gonna blow your work out of the ballpark. It's gonna be amazing. I'm so excited. I'm gonna be your biggest cheerleader. But if you don't want the criticism, not the criticism, but the critiques, then
Mm-hmm.
we're not a good fit.
Yeah. 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 And again, coming down to like knowing what's a good fit for
Yeah,
like you
100%.
and like mentorships and other people with like wanting to learn from you. It's knowing like who is a good fit for me as a mentor, as a teacher, as do I need someone to like hold my hand and be like, no, what you're doing is really great, and
Mm-hmm.
try this next time, or a little bit more of a harsh critique.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I have grown to love critiques, and I love like sitting in on group critiques for like, you know, websites or even portfolio critiques, because it's not so much pointed at me, but I can see my work in their work and be like,
Mhm.
ooh, they said this about, like, this doesn't actually align with their, you know, their brand voice. So why is
Yeah.
this image on their website? I'm like, oh yeah, now I'm thinking about mine, and I can kind of move that
Mhm.
in without feeling the those pings to the heart of like, oh no, I'm not good. But yeah, okay, well, I love that, and I love that, like, with film and like your double exposures, and with just like the light, the way that you use light in your photography, it's very creative. um like, what are some ways you can think of that we can kind of weave some creativity into our art and business without like completely changing your
Changing.
style, if you know that's not where we're
Um,
coming from?
Honestly, I feel like you have to change it try in your personal life first. Like you can't automatically, people, I see all the people on Instagram or in groups are like, okay, I'm going to start adding film. What kind of film should I get? What kind of, or what should I be doing? Or, oh, I'm going to just do a double exposure and see how it goes. It's like, that's great. I'm so excited because the more people shooting film is the more the better, because then it leads to a whole different other thing, more film being produced and yada, yada.
Yes.
But I always say, do it in your personal work first. Do it, practice everything, and find your voice. Like you might go out and say, "Oh, I would love double exposures," but you might not like them. And so, okay, well, but you do love long exposures or playing with shadows or silhouettes. And so, like playing that way, it doesn't have to be. I know when people think about being creative, they think of color, and everything has to be color because that's creative. There's so many
Mm.
ways to be creative that's not color based. You could be a monochromatic, like black and white photographer. And if you are just, very still life, then try street photography or candids and like just switch it's all about changing perspective, and how you view things is a different way to be creative.
Mm.
So it's really try everything in your personal life. Like for me to get creative, I know I get in funks, and travel or change of scenery is what really gets me out of it, or being around like film walks with other film photographers or other photographers in general. That's like the gold standard for me. Like that's what I need to do. That's like if I don't have those like every other month, I feel like very stagnant, if that makes sense.
Yes. Oh yeah, 100%. I'm right there with you. Like that kind of, when you're, because being an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, it's very lonely sometimes,
Oh,
because you
the
don't have, yeah,
business.
yeah, and you don't have the coworkers, and you don't have community often. Um, and yeah, having that, I love doing photo walks, and I love traveling. Even anytime that I'm just like going to another city, like here, even here in Texas or something, to go visit someone, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to bring a camera with me, and I'm going to do something. I'm going to shoot a
Yeah.
roll in this park. And just like, it's a different scenery. There's different trees. There's different
Yeah.
lighting scenarios. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
this is different. And it like kind of gets you out of that rut of always going to the same parks, always going to the same, this is my one like 4 square block of downtown that I do my engagement sessions in. And that's just what I'm doing. And you kind of get in that rut of same thing, different subject. It's all the same work. But yeah, no, I love that, and I love that you mentioned that it's not just, creativity is not just one thing. It's
Mhm.
not just using color. It's, it could be some shadow work, or even incorporating like off-camera flash,
Oh,
um,
100%. That's huge right
which,
now.
oh yeah,
Everyone's now.
yeah, everyone, especially the direct flash, with the paparazzi look, that is
Oh, that's like
very
very
in
hot.
right now. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Thanks, Paris Hilton. Uh,
Is she the one who started that? I
I
don't
don't
even know.
know. It just makes me think of Paris Hilton in like, 2002 or something, or whenever she was really big and like everything was so hot. And it was just like always like direct flash of like her and I don't know, her her posse. I don't know. I wasn't into uh, pop culture back then, but it just like I remember seeing all those photos, and it feels like that now,
Those
which
very-
I still like. I like that.
I love it. I think it's
Yeah,
fantastic. I think
yeah,
it's really cool.
yeah.
So
I think it's really fun too. The
mhm, it
I've
is
been
fun.
doing that a lot more at like kind of toward the end of the wedding, and just
Mhm.
like direct flash
I
onto the
love
dance floor.
Dragon Flash. Like, oh my gosh, those are so much fun.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm slowly incorporating that into my dance floor because mine had been very like set up with like multiple off-camera flashes and getting that like well lit but still getting the ambient colors and everything, and I'm like slowly incorporating so I'm not just like stark someone hires me for for one style and then they're like my entire reception like just had lines of light all over the place.
There's just colors everywhere. Well,
Yeah.
that's yeah. It's just I think that's part of being like you asked about adding creativity into your business. It's like
Hmm.
that's what you can't do. You can't all of a sudden just change because it's like wait a second. People like it's all of a sudden if I go out and say okay I'm going to do all black and white and all these people that book me for my color they're
Yeah.
like wait a second this is not what I wanted at all.
Right.
So but I love
Yeah. It's like I don't know. I feel like not the opposite of you, but just like that the only black and white. I don't know if you've heard of Cara Marie uh, Trombetta, I think is her last name. But Cara Marie Studios, she's a photographer and have known her for like 15 years or so from when she used to live in Austin. But like her brand is all monochrome, all black and white.
it's
Uh,
beautiful.
and yeah, and I followed her and like she posted a photo in color and I was just like, what is this? What a this can't be something that you took. And she was like, I actually do take color images too. I just only post black and white. That's my brand.
And that's what I
Uh,
do. That's what I do too. When I post a couple black and whites, people go crazy. And they're beautiful. Like I did one on, I just shared one the coast of Oregon. It was a mom and a little girl. And I
mm,
posted my stories at first, and everyone's like, wait a second. They're like, what is this image? Can you show us more? And I want to say like 50 people said that. I could not believe it. I was just like, what? Really? And then I posted on my Instagram feed because it's just, I was like, I do shoot everything. Like I know how to shoot other stocks. I do different styles and like what I'm feeling at the moment. But I do show the bright and colorful because I feel like that's me and
yeah.
my brand, not brand. I hate to say that, but like that's just who I am.
Yeah.
And I feel
That's
like my
what
personality,
calls to you.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And that's my personality too when I'm with
Yeah.
friends.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. And I think that is really important as photographers to not just like pigeonhole everything
Mhm.
into, I only do this.
Yeah.
This
So,
is, if you hire me, I'm only going to be doing this. I'm only photographing the entire thing with a Holga.
mhm.
And like, that's it.
Fun.
Uh,
That could be actually really fun. I actually
it,
have a question that I did on all plastic cameras and
oh,
it turned out,
really?
mhm. It
That's
was
cool.
really, really, it's coming out soon.
Ooh,
Something,
okay.
something's
Cool.
happening.
Yeah.
So,
Stay tuned, everyone.
stay tuned. If you
Yes.
like my work, I have a whole bunch of stuff coming out this year. So, and
Nice.
it kind of just proves the notion that you have to have a context. You have to have like this fancy camera to create beautiful work. And it's like that's not true at all. Like if you
Yeah.
know how to you can make anything beautiful if you know how to film, if you know how to make this work and know lights and like have a voice. And I think
Yep.
having your a unique voice is the number one thing everyone has to do. And there's very few people that do it. Well, there is a lot of people that do it really well. And I think the one thing that you know when you do have a voice, if someone's scrolling and they know your work without having to look at the image, I think you've done your job.
Yes. Yeah. And you can't do that if you don't have a voice, if you don't
Right.
have that one thing that calls to you that you continue to do.
Mhm.
And if you're trying to chase trends and be like everyone else, then yeah, your work is going to look like everyone else.
Yeah.
And,
You'll burn
and
out.
then,
You'll burn out. You'll
yeah,
be like, you cannot, and you'll
yep,
eventually, it'll take you longer getting to where you need to be because you're trying to be everyone else instead of who you are.
yeah,
And so you're just delaying the inevitable anyway. And then once you find out who you are, and everyone's inspired by other people. Like there's no original work. We're all inspired by music and movies and books and artists. And I mean, people have been doing this for thousands of years, like hundreds, like you look at all the painters and stuff, everyone's inspired by something.
yeah,
So just finding what inspires you the most and like figuring out your little niche is
yes.
the most important.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And like that, I mean, just like pulling back in with that creativity, that's going to awaken your soul. And just like when
You
you
need
find that niche of, this is what I really love, because it could be, shooting on plastic cameras. And
Mhm.
like some of my favorite film work that I've done, especially during like family sessions, has been on my like $35 Holga.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
Oh,
it's,
sound.
yeah, it
Can
just, I don't know, something, it's just like that retro feel. And it's the imperfection of like the overlay, because I didn't like
I love it.
crank it all the way, and or I had it set on 12 frames when it should have been 16, or
Mhm.
whatever. and
Yep.
and that kind of imperfection, it just like those photos I love.
Mhm.
uh, but
Oh,
kind of speaking on film, we did get a question from Ariel about how do you do like double exposures on film. Like
there's a
what's your process?
I there's a couple different things I do. One in camera, I use most cameras have the double exposure. Most like Canon 1Vs and the medium formats and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's either a function, so it's image by image, and so you taking one photo and then taking another one on top of them. My Canon 1V, for I think it allows me up to 9 images on top of one another, so I'll do a lot of those, and they come out like a painted effect, so it looks kind of like a
Mm.
paint, which is really beautiful. Or the easiest way that it's the most easy for everyone to do, because you can do it on every camera, is you shoot an entire roll of whether it be lights or flowers or scenery or anything that you love, and then you just reload it back into your camera, and they're called blind double exposures. And then you shoot again, and those are always my favorite because you
Yeah.
just have no idea what's going to happen. And
Yeah.
so that's the magic sauce right there. And so and you could do that with the cheap, not, I hate to say cheap, the inexpensive plastic cameras. Like you don't need to go spend tons of money on a camera. You can go pick up a Rito or, the bubble film camera, and you have great images. Or even the Ektar 35 one, you get 72 images. So like
Yeah.
you have 72 frames. If you're not planning, I love to print big. I print like 20 by 30, and usually most of my stuff around my place is around that. But if you're not going to print big, then you have 72 frames to play around with. It's really the best deal out there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. I also love blind doubles of just, you don't know what the image that you're shooting over is. You don't know if you're like exactly lined up in frame and everything, or if it's, I have a problem, especially with 120 film, of loading it in upside down, and then I'll like it'll
Really?
be, yeah, I don't know why I keep doing that, especially with like
I've never heard that. It's actually quite funny. I love it.
yeah, with my Yashica up there, I just keep doing it upside down for some reason. Still works. It's just,
That's
but
perfect.
yeah, for doubles, it's a little different.
Mhm.
But like, is there something that you're looking at when you're like shooting that first roll? If you're doing like
Lights.
an entire thing, lights.
The
Okay.
light. 100%. I shoot with the light hitting subjects. That's the biggest takeaway, is you have to know how you're shooting it to begin with. And like you unless you wanted to do all silhouettes, which would be really cool. There's just you have to know what with film in general, you have to know what you want their images to turn out with. at the end before you even
Mm.
put the film. So I know if I want my images to look like my stuff, the bright and colorful, I have to shoot one way versus if I want it dark and moody, it's the same goes with double exposures. Like you have to know like, okay, so if I want to do all silhouettes, you're going to have to do all silhouettes and shoot with the sun behind the image, like behind the image to get that. So the second image shows up. So just knowing what you want the images to turn out with really makes a difference. And you could do it different. You could do 5 different ways on a roll of film. Like it doesn't have to be, you could see what you like the best. That's what I love about 35 millimeters. You have 36 chances to find out what you love.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I love that. It's just like what you were saying earlier of just like practice and do like creative work in your own personal work, in your personal time, and just practice with a friend, especially if you have another photographer friend and both of y'all are wanting to get into film, or expand your creativity with film, or even with digital work too. There's double exposure functions on pretty much every digital camera now, and yeah, just playing around and seeing what you can do. The digital double exposures are almost like, it feels like cheating because it shows like the overlay and it's like, oh, I can exactly put this where I want it to be.
I'm going to be a little film snob on that. Be like, I like the idea. It's fine. It's like, I don't know. There's something about magical when it's not a happy accident, but it's on purpose accident and it worked out.
Yes.
Like knowing what you're doing and it just creates a beautiful image. It's just something. There's something about film. There is.
Yes.
It's magic. It really is magic.
It really is. It really is. Yeah. And yeah, with the digital doubles, my perfectionist comes out, and then I'm just like, oh well, this doesn't line up exactly like I was picturing, or now I've got to take like a step back and I have just like this white space or whatever, and yeah, shooting on film is just it's blind and you don't know until it gets developed, and then it's more meaningful. Like some of those where it's just like it's off a little bit, and yeah, I could have framed this better, or if I knew the overlay I would have put them here, but for some reason with them over here it works better, and it just has that feeling.
Well, and tip for this is if you want something perfect, like if there's something that you absolutely love, you're like, okay, I want to get this shot right. Take 3 or 4 photos. Like everyone thinks like I used to when I started, it's like, oh, it's just one shot. Like you only get one shot. It's like, no, freaking take 4 shots if you really want this image to be amazing. Then you get 4 choices. What looks the best? What do I like the most? It's just what you want to do, and I hate, and I want to say this, and I don't know if I should
do it.
And I know people are going to hate on me for this, but just because it's film doesn't make it good. Like throwing a double, throwing lights on it, throwing a light leak in there doesn't. If you don't have a really great, fantastic, beautiful image to begin with, you're literally, it's like decorating a cake and like throwing sprinkles on a bad cake. It's still a bad cake, but now it's just a colorful bad cake. Yeah. So like make sure your image is like a good composition to start with. So when you do add the little creativeness to it, it makes it better. So I know like people just assume because it's film, it's amazing. And it is. It's like you do love things a little bit more when it's film versus digital. You're more apt to like delete 500 digital photos and keep a horrible film photo. It's just a weird mind thing, but like just because it's film, it's not good. And I know people are going to hate me for that, but
but it's true. It is very true. And yeah, I mean, that analogy of a bad cake with colorful sprinkles on it is spot on, because I have had some bad cakes being a wedding photographer. There have been some really dry cakes that looked beautiful, and I didn't eat it. A lot of the guests didn't.
You're like, oh, I'm going to throw stuff on top to cover it up. It's just this like, oh, okay, well, now it's just a bad cake with lots of colors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think of like those early Instagram days with like all the VSCO presets and stuff, where it's just like a terrible photo of your food. and or just like a peace sign that's just, and then you throw this light leak filter on there and everyone's just like, that looks great. But whenever you like really start looking at it, it's like, but is it though?
Yeah.
And I think that's what it comes down to. Like, if you want to be creative in your work, if you want to do all of these things, you've got to have that understanding of like the fundamental knowledge of creating a good quality photo and
Yes.
then bringing in creative aspects on top of that.
Oh, 100%. You have to know what you're doing first. It's like know the rules so you can break them kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
everything, know what you're doing across the board, know how to use the light, how different film stocks, what film stocks you like versus what you don't like. It's just all the learning process. And then have fun. Then say, okay, what can I do to push this? Because you already know your baseline. Like I already know that I love Portra 800 at pushed. I know I love all Portra films pushed. I'm not a fan of them not pushed. So, but I only know that because I've shot them all in a multitude of different ways. So I don't know. I'm probably going off on another ADD here.
Yeah.
So my tangent, like my mind is like, oh, I should talk about this. And
Yeah.
I have no idea where it
It's
started.
great. I love it. But yeah, like that's also the thing of like anyone listening who's really interested in getting into film, but you don't know where to start. It's like start with getting a bunch of different kinds of film stock and then shooting those and seeing which ones you like, and then
One film
getting more
stock
of that.
because it's like, okay, I know there's so many different ways you can shoot. Let's just take Portra 400. It's the most forgiving. But if you try to shoot Portra 400 like you shot Fuji, you're going to be a rude awakening. You can't, it doesn't do the same things. So knowing what it can and can't, each film stock can and can't do. But for people who are getting into film, and you, oh gosh, how do I say this? Like the easiest way, like you were saying, it's you're in a year and a half journey into teaching yourself because it is such a hard, difficult process because you don't get the instant gratification of things coming back or looking at the back of your camera and seeing things, how it looks right away.
Yeah.
It's like get a mentor, go to a workshop. Like I cannot emphasize how much that helps immediately if you want to learn film quickly because like it is a long time. Like even I use Find and it's a 3-day turnaround. So even when I ship my film off, I get my stuff back within 2 weeks. But even in those 2 weeks, you forget. You're like, okay, you need to be shooting every single day or you'll forget stuff. But yeah, that's my advice. If anyone can go to a workshop, get a mentor. I know originally it's going to feel like it's going to be a lot of money out of pocket, but the amount of money I spent on time and bad images balances out.
Yes. Yeah. It always feels like that with getting mentors and going to workshops, going to like conferences and doing style shoots and stuff like that, where you're actively learning from someone. It always feels like, oh man, this is a lot of money, or this is a big investment. And then afterwards, like I would have paid 10 times this because of everything that you learn. I'm a huge like hands-on learner. So being in front of someone, like I love workshops. I love photo walks. Like you mentioned earlier of just like going on a walk with other creatives, other photographers, and just seeing how they shoot or like what light catches their eye, and they're like, oh, I want to take a photo over here. I'm like, oh, I wouldn't even thought about in this alleyway, but yeah, that like little beam of light. Okay. And just like learning from other people. It's really, really important. So, okay. I love it. Okay. Well, Jen, I have loved this conversation. This has been so good. I am feeling like my creativity awakened to go shoot a roll of film today, and maybe do some blind doubles. I have 2 rolls of flowers that I have shot weeks ago that I need to go shoot some blind doubles. So I think I'm going to go do that.
Get ready. At Hybrid, I'm teaching all about creative shooting, and that I can't wait about. It's 100% creative shooting. Okay. And so I'm just excited, and because I really do think no matter what you shoot, being creative is the most. It's going to fill your cup and keep you
Yes.
going.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I'm excited about that, and that'll be fun. And yeah, I'll also throw a link if anyone's just like, "What is hybrid?" It's a conference, hybrid of film and digital, um, and it's what, March this year, I think, like late March,
Yeah,
here in Texas, just outside
awesome.
of Austin. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'll throw a link in there. Y'all can go sign up if you want and come
Oh, and I
learn
have
from Jen in person.
discount codes. If anyone wants them, tell them to shoot me a message, or you can shoot me a message if you want a discount code for hybrid. I have just two to give out. So
Okay. Yeah. So
just for
so
you,
run
just for you,
quickly.
save it for less. Just for you because you're another hybrid peep.
Cool. Awesome. Well, cool. Thanks, Jen. Before we wrap everything up, there's something that I like to do where we talk about what we're loving this week. And it can be like literally anything, a new movie, book, whatever, or just the weather, new food. What are you loving this week?
Oh my gosh, this is so okay. Oh, Japanese pancakes. I've been making those way too much,
Ooh,
but
okay. What's the difference between Japanese pancakes and like American traditional?
they're super tall and fluffy and use mostly egg whites versus flour.
Mm,
So it's really good.
okay. Huh.
That's very basic. I could talk about all the books I'm reading, but I don't want to bore you guys because they're all history. We're
Those are
not
those are
anything,
fun.
but they are. They are. I'm a
Yeah.
nerd. I'm a big nerd.
Yeah.
So
When history is told well, I'm very intrigued. Um,
yes.
like there have been a few documentaries that I've watched that I'm just like, this is so good.
Hmm.
But I always like in high school, I just thought that history was the most boring thing. But that was just because I was just reading in a book that was just like, in this year, this thing happened, and then I was just like, okay. But yeah, I have grown into loving it. I am not quite at the like suburban dad, totally into World War II history yet, but I'm I'm getting more into history.
It's interesting. It's fascinating. It really is, and like
Yeah,
different eras, and it's just all fascinating. I know I said that word before,
yeah,
fascinating, but it's really cool.
yeah. Okay, what's one of the books that you're reading right now?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I don't have them here. Hold on. I have like four that I keep bouncing between. I know. And I just
That's
started
how I do books too.
yeah, a gentleman in Moscow. I just started. Oh gosh, who is? Hold on, shoot, it's in my bedroom. I feel like now I'm a father with the when you said that about the roller. It was about Winston Churchill. It was oh, who's the blind? Oh gosh, the White City author.
Eric
I don't know.
Larson.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. His books are really good. Very informative. I went from reading a book about women spies in World War II, which was fascinating because they just assumed that women are we're dumb and we can't figure things out, and so no one would ever think that women are spies. And it was an amazing, amazing book. I can get the name of that. And then I went to a light read after, and I couldn't even read. It was awful. And people are raving about the second book, and I was like, I can't. It's so simple. I can't even
Mm,
finish it
yeah.
because of great writing in the first.
Yeah, I have heard stories of the women spies in World War II, and that just I'm like fascinated by it.
I'll have to read the
So
book. It's really interesting.
okay, cool. Yeah, we'll get that and we'll throw it in the show notes for y'all and for me because I'll check it out. For me, what I'm loving this week. Let me see. Let me check my notes. I write down things a lot. Oh, a like a little mini series. I think it was like 8 episodes or something on Hulu, called "A Murder at the End of the World." Um,
Ooh.
it was like a little mystery kind of whodunit where this billionaire guy invites a bunch of different like hackers and code writers and people out to this hotel that he built like in Antarctica or somewhere. I don't know. It was just snowing the whole time. And I think it was Iceland actually. But yeah, and then someone gets killed in like the first night there, and then they're all trying to figure out who did it, and then big twist toward the end of like the last episode, and it's just like did not see that coming, but okay.
I'll have to put that on my list.
Yeah, it was good. I thought it was well written and kind of goes back and forth between like the main character, she's an author, so it goes like opens up with her reading an excerpt from her book and like ties in between the story in the book and what's going on in real life currently. And yeah, it was really good. It's on Hulu, Murder at the End of the World.
Yeah, or any of the British shows on Netflix. Those are really good. Lots of British shows are really good.
Yes. So awesome. Well, cool. Okay. Jen, where can people find you? Where can they reach out, follow your work, DM you for those discount hybrid tickets?
It's the best option is Jennifer Lawrence Photo on Instagram. For that, for workshops, I have a bunch of workshops coming up this year. One with Wendy Laurel in Hawaii. Also, I'll be teaching at Hybrid, and then traveling the country for personal workshops as well. So. And then there's some PDFs coming out shortly. So lots of, if you like film, you like color, like anything like that. And then of course I do one-on-one mentoring. I love working with other creatives. I feel like it's something we all need to do, or just be around other creatives, because it is such a lonely profession.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Awesome. Well, cool. Yeah. I will have all that in the show notes so everyone can reach out and follow.
And ask questions for free. Like, if I know double exposures sounds like foreign to some people, or like, what do you mean by this? I'm happy to answer questions. Shoot me a message. Sorry, cool. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. Yeah, shoot Jen a message. But yeah, well, thank you so much for being on the show. I really enjoyed getting to chat, and I'm very excited to see you again in just a couple months.
Oh my gosh, like 60 days or something like that.
I know, it is coming up quickly. I was looking at that like, I need to like start planning things. I have a wedding the day before I leave, so
oh my god. Well, I need to start doing my whole presentation and my shoots.
That's how I am. I'm just like, anytime that I have a presentation, I'm like, that's like in a week. I should probably get those slides together.
Well, I was editing my last presentation at Hybrid up until an hour before. Like, I changed most of my stuff because people were like, I want to learn this from you. I was just like, okay, I'll add that in. So I need to like get better at procrastination.
As the AV guy at Hybrid, you are not the only person who is
okay, good.
Who's last minute. Yeah, there's so many times that we'll get like the whole presentation, and then 30 minutes before they're just like, here's another USB drive. This one has my updated presentation on it. We're like, all right, good. Cool.
Good. Then it's not. It must be a creative thing. It must be like something.
It is. Yeah, because nothing is ever done. Yeah,
no.
We're always just like, I gotta add this, or I don't need to talk about this. Let me take away that slide. I can't do 60 slides in 15 minutes. What am I doing?
Well, you think and you're like, you have 45 minutes to speak, and it's like, how I'm gonna fill this, and then all of a sudden you're like, crap. Like, I'm like now speaking because I put like 500 photos in this thing, or slides. Yeah. So it's a tough balance.
Yeah, it is. So. But yeah, no, I'm excited to hear you speak, and hopefully I'll be doing AV at that point of the day. They always have us in different places, but yeah, okay. If not, maybe I'll record it.
I don't know about that. I don't think anyone would do that.
Just for me, I'll record it for me to set up a camera. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, thank you. This has been great.